is up, everybody? I'm here. GRC is not here. Sam, good to see you guys. We have some awesome stuff to cover today. We're going to be talking about Maxi and Team, right? What is Maxi, right? It's that Maximus DAO where you traded in your hex for Maxi. And now there's another thing that's coming out where you can trade in your Maxi for Team. There's also some 3 other tokens, I believe, with that. I'll give you my 100% honest take on that, which might ruffle some feathers, but I will give you my take on that. We might touch on some LP, Maddie Allen's project, but I think we'll spend a lot of time on Hedron and Icosa. I've been thinking about this a lot lately, and I did about 3 pages worth of journaling, or just kind of ironing out all my thoughts on the Icosa Hedron. Like, what is going on? What is up, chat? PDC, what's good? Sensei Dose, what is good? Great to see everybody here. Hope everybody is enjoying their holiday weekend. So we've got a lot of stuff covered. GRC is probably going to be on at some point today, but if not, we got things going on. So with that, without further ado, let's get into some the intro song, Bullish.
You already know what time it is. Crypt in the morning. Crypt in the morning. Crypt in the morning. Waiting on phone. Crypt in the morning. Crypt in the morning. Ready to take notes. Crypt in the morning. Crypt in the morning. Crypt in the morning. Waiting on phone. Crypt in the morning. Crypt in the morning. Ready to take notes. Smoking a blunt on my way to the gym. 11 a.m. and I'm already tuned in. Got me some hex and I'm making a stay. Got me some Hedron, I'm making it rain. Pay me some Maxi and that just in case. Jim Redder sent me to show you the way. Crypt in the morning. 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 Crypt in the morning.
So I believe it is actually official that we went into price discovery. I don't know if that's accurate or not, but I think we went into price discovery with Bullish. You have that in the background on Dex maybe or something. I think we went into price discovery with just a wick up in the Hedron price, right? That was up to 5 zeros and 7. What is going on there? It is astonishing that people are finally starting to catch up. And there's, I checked on the Etherscan this morning, and there was a bunch of people who were actually selling, right? As you can see this morning, if you check at Etherscan, you can actually see, go to Dex scanner, and you can actually see this. Just say hi to everybody real quick. What is good, Flat Earth? How you doing, bro? Bullish in the house. Thank you, Bullish, for the help. Bob Lagai, what's good, bro? Good to see you here. Iron Hex, how you doing? Let's go. I love your logo with the icon there. And Joel Martin, good morning, sir. How you doing? Bugs got some biceps in the chat. Hey, what are you guys doing for the holiday here in the United States? We've got I don't know what the name of the holiday is because I'm not doing anything for it, but hopefully some other people are enjoying some time with some friends and some family for this event. So this morning, I'm just going to dive right into this. Okay, let's pull this up here. I think Bullish grabbed this. I think we saw some price discovery this morning. Did it get above 0.7? Oh, we got very close. So what is this, guys? This is the Hedron USDC chart here we have. As you can see, we're uber close to price discovery. What is price discovery? Price discovery is that area where the price has never been before. And when we look at something like Hedron, why would this be going into that price discovery? So I guess it didn't. It looked like it almost touched on it, but I didn't pull up the actual number. So appreciate you pulling this up. We're so close. We see the sell off this morning, right? Because there's 10x's that people have had, and they're like, I want to take some profit, right? If that's your thing, you should take some profit, right? I'm definitely going to be doing that. And I've actually had a conversation with Bullish or GRC and how we plan on doing that. If you guys care to know what that is, just let me know. Thank you for pulling that up, Bullish. I was thinking about Hedron this morning. What is the downside that I'm missing on Hedron? Well, I think that two fundamental assumptions come into play. First of all, you have to assume that Hex is going to be around. Assume that people want to buy T-shares, right? That's a big assumption, right? Is Hex going to be around in the future? I know that a lot of people in the chat believe it is. I think Richard Hart thinks that it's going to be. But is it actually going to be around in the future? I don't know. I believe that I see a lot of activity with people believing that it's going to be, which helps give me faith that there's going to be other people who purchase it, right? Even if I choose not to. And then the other one is, because that's the first assumption, is Hex going to be around and are there going to be T-shares around? Now, is there going to be people who want to get out of their stakes? And when I thought about this, I do believe that there's always going to be people.
Wait till $1, you'll see all those end stakes out in just about a boom.
I don't think people are going to do end stakes anymore. Good to see you, bro. I don't think
even if it goes to a certain. Well, okay, so what is the alternative that you're mentioning?
Hedron. Why would anybody end stake?
No. I'm just saying in general. So like, okay, so think of it like this, because your position would be different than the guys that I'm thinking about. Like I'm thinking about certain people. So if you're the guy that I'm talking about. You spent 10 grand on Hex 800 days ago. Okay. But you're not like heavy investor Sam LP guy. You're just like, more like me when I was just starting. Like, oh, I hope this is fun and new and cool. And
Hedron wasn't around then.
At all. Didn't exist. That's the hugest part, Sam.
So it's just going to be OGs.
Because you're extrapolating a world of Hedron, and we're like, oh, Hedron wasn't in those worlds. That's so crazy, dude.
Because the OGs are going to be the people who end stake.
There's dudes with millions of dollars in staked Hex. No, listen to this paradox. It's going to blow your face off. Millions of dollars in staked Hex, hitting up Sam, who wasn't even around when Hedron existed, to ask him what to do with money. And you know why? That's because he knows that he's smarter than you. And they just want to ask a smart dude rather than, I've been in the market for so fucking long and I have so much. It's like, I've walked around 100 girls. I'm so good at sex. But you know what I mean, Sam? Like, you're just because those messages that you showed me as a friend, and that was all behind the scenes.
Yep.
Like, totally, we were just talking about work. And it changed something happened. Remember you were trying to explain to me why your MBA is important, but you don't care about it?
Yeah.
And now that was like blowing my shit out of I could not, nothing in my brain was clicking. I was like, I get it. My mom loves that shit. So he was dead on. Like my mom, I was like, Sam has an MBA. She's like, are you kidding me? And I was sitting there like this. I was like, no, I'm not kidding. Like I almost was putting my chest up. I was like, I don't know what this means, but he's my friend. Because I'm so detached. I've never been in that world for one day, ever. Like I was just drugs and then just doing my own thing, kind of dog training and all that sorts of shit. So I'm just, what is going on in this market? Hey, if you look at me and wonder how, I'm naive in certain ways.
But we all are in certain ways.
Yes, but you just wait for me. You don't tell me because you're not an asshole. Like I gotta learn shit.
Correct.
You tell me slowly, gently, but so what do you think my biggest misconception about this ecosystem was before you knew any of this stuff? When I was telling you in the beginning, when I was so excited off my asshole, I was still pretty critical though.
Well, I don't think I had the understanding at the time because I was brand new. I just we had 2 calls for anybody who didn't know this. So GRC and I got in a couple calls. I don't think we filmed them. We did them through, I don't know. We were on the phone.
We were in the morning, early. I was like, Sam, will you wake up at 8 a.m. and we're going to go on stream and but I don't think it ever was recorded. It was Maddie Crypto or someone invited us on their show.
And what we ended up talking it was that guy that you used to do shows with. What was it? Joker.
Gunther and Joker. No,
yeah.
not Gunther. Sorry.
Joker.
He's the shark that sold the top.
Who was the other guy? It was Gunther and
Mr. Luke Hex Luthor, and he's a great guy to this day, and I still enjoy talking to that guy.
Okay, so it was Joker and him, and we talked for like an hour and a half, and it was basically just me asking question after question after question after question after question after question for an hour and a half. So if you want a really, 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 really detailed understanding of like,
I'm so afraid to look at this, Sam. You have no idea. I have a very weird anxiety problem in general, but it's not like about like feelings. It's more about like weird quirks, and like when I look at that stuff, I get a really scary reaction because I was in a dopaminergic state at that time that I couldn't get out of. I was almost bipolar. I was in a manic state to a degree, and I always am like that to a degree. I'm always on the fringe of like mania. Like one cool thing in my life can turn me into an absolute psychopath because I get too excited.
And those were some crazy times. But to get back to your question, to like, were you? You had more confidence that what you were saying was accurate, and I wasn't aware. You know what I mean? I wasn't.
Dude, it's because of Richard Hart. It's because I watched 150 hours of him just talking like a normal guy. Like not like what you've seen. Like he was literally like this, drinking like an energy drink or a coffee and just answering fans' questions and having a good old day. And but he's a smart guy. I think it's fair to say that at this point. He was saying some things. Richard puts himself on the internet to be impressive. It's like his little thing. Like he wants to go on there and show guys like me because he knows there's hungry guys like me. Not necessarily you, because you've probably been through a little bit more people and influence in that arena already. Like just so many people you talk to about that kind of thing. I had never talked to anyone. So I had zero bias about finance. Not one. I didn't even care. Like I didn't even actually care. My dad could be like, here's 10 grand. I'd be like, I don't even know if I should care. Like everyone's always paid for my shit and it's fine. Like,
and then that's what gave you the confidence.
And but he was like, don't worry about that, guys. He was looking at me and he was saying, Bitcoin goes up 6,500%. This many people drop, they emotionally get upset and it flops over on itself. This happens every 3 years. He was saying this the whole time. And I was like, okay, like my first day in kindergarten.
I'm waiting for this to happen with Hedron. I'm waiting for this to happen with Hedron because so I'm thinking about this, like the fair value, right? The value where you cannot buy a T-share at a discount, right? Because I'm trying to see, like GRC asked me this question the other day. Hey, we were talking to Bullish about this because I had a conversation with somebody and they were telling me how they went through one bull run. And then they came out of the bull run and they went from, a very low dollar value, like $10,000, $12,000, maybe to like $500,000 in the bull run. And then it went back down to basically where they started. And he wasn't going to do that again. So you had asked, and I was thinking about that while I was journaling this morning and yesterday, because I was like, when do I want to pull profits? When do I want to dump my Hedron?
I took 10% last night of Hedron. I'm not going to lie to you guys. And I'm telling you guys, I'm decent at this because
You're a horrible human being.
No, but I'm doing this, Sam. Listen, no emotions. People think that I care about this number going up. I watched it go up so much higher, bro. Like literally, I watched all my bags go to 100%. Everyone lied to me and I never made a cent off of it. You think that I will be fooled again? You are incorrect. I won't allow you humans to fuck my shit up. Guess what I did? I bought the Hedron bottom on the day on 77 days ago in 5 hours. 77 days. Well, the 5 hours because I don't know what time it was yesterday. So let's say 77 days. That was probably if there was a 3-day bottom, it was somewhere within that day. I don't know the exact moment, but that was the first ever DC I did on Hedron.
Okay, so
I found that yesterday, and I found that out yesterday. By the way, I had no idea.
So yeah, we talked about that. That's dope.
I just randomly looked. It was lucky, obviously.
And you got it. You started getting in before I did, for sure.
Got in before I did.
Yeah, Bullish has been consistent with that too, and that's admirable, right? Because so how do you go through and exit the position, right? When do I want to exit a position? Like you took 10% last night, cool, awesome, fucking happy for you, bro. Anybody else who's took some profits this morning? Fantastic, like you do.
But what's the initial problem with it, Sam? Emotionally, and I had this problem last night. I'm aware of this shit, so it's okay for me. But I'm talking to the new guys in here. So when Sam did the math, right, and Sam's really smart, right, and I'm really smart, right, and the math looks good, right. So I'm sitting there, and then there's speculation involved, and then I see the sharks buying back, And then I'm like, you know, at some point, this is what it is. When that money becomes substantial in your human life, guys, I feel like I can just do this intuitively because I don't care about money. It's weird. I'm weird like that because I've never had to deal with it. If you take it out the moment that amount, 10% of that liquid bag is enough to change your effing life on the feet. A little bit, just a little bit, whatever you need. What do I need? I'm trying to survive a couple more months where I can just lay it all on the line. So, dude, taking $3,500, put it in the bank account, is that the worst move ever? It's 10%. I have 90% of the most illiquid fucking scam wick liquidity pool fucking asset in history. Like, what are you guys smoking? When these motherfuckers tell you low liquidity assets go up 1,000%, but you don't really believe them because you don't know what that means. Sam truly doesn't know what that means. Sam is not dealt with low liquidity assets in his life. This is weird for him. His brain is kind of like, this is a scam, but I'm going to do it anyway. Like,
what? So with options trading, when I would do options trading, one of the advantages that I had about trading options with Tesla was that options in general are lower liquidity, but then you go to Tesla, which has the highest. They have more trading value in their options than any other SP 500, any other large company in the US, period, like by a long effing shot. So it helped with that. But there was certain times where you couldn't get out of positions or get into positions, but nothing, there wasn't. Legacy is like back in the day in Spain, right? So I've been to Spain and in all around Europe in different spots. And in Italy, they have siestas, right? And part of the day, they just take the afternoon off. Not everybody. Some people just take the afternoon off, right? So I wanted to get some clothes washed, and it's early mid-afternoon, and like maybe 1 o'clock, and almost all the places are fucking closed. Like a lot of the shops to go get your laundry done and stuff are closed. So I couldn't get it done.
Middleman think when it comes to clothes washing too. God damn it.
And that's the legacy world. There's just no liquidity at all. Versus like in Hedron, yes, it's not there. But so I'm thinking about this. Like, how do I get out? How do I choose when I want to start pulling money out of
small
Hedron?
amount till it's negligible. Just pull out negligible amount, and it doesn't bother you. It just doesn't bother you at all. Like if you pull out a negligible,
how do you do that if you don't feel like, if you still feel like it's undervalued? And
well, I saw everyone not make any money on that on the top, and they had so much more, Sam, so much more, dude. Like, and I'm not talking about your money. I had never looked at Sam's accounts personally. I just look at his like LP numbers and stuff when we talk. I've never asked Sam about his money personally, by the way, ever. Other than like, hope everything's good. Like, you know, like
I'll just be sharing stuff and you may ask me
back in the day, of course. Like, you know, we're 6 years in, like there's been good and bad times for both of us. But in general, I watched everyone. And now, you know what they're doing today? They have that built up energy, Sam, and it's still there. And that's why they won't look at Hedron, because they missed their opportunity. So it's more like an emotional lesson that I learned, that I decided I don't care about the gains for that. I don't care about the gains anymore. That stack is USDC. It's 10%. I also have a lot of staked Hedron. So like I have more Hedron. This is cool for me because this is the first asset that's exploded with low liquidity that I've spent no money on. Mm-hmm. If that makes sense. I have spent no money on Hedron. If you think that my life, I could have sell a fucking TV or a clock on the wall and have more Hedron than I bought at the bottom, and it would be fucking larger than Gunther's bag, because Sam, the liquidity's so tight, it's so LP scammed that it doesn't even matter, because you know the math already, and I know what all the people are going to do. They ain't selling. They ain't selling, dude. It's just the way it is. It sucks. No one sells 5%, and it's the same guy.
What do you think? What do you think though? Because when you understand that like fair value, that arbitrage point, the point where Hedron can get to, and I can share the spreadsheet again, but where once Hedron is at this price, then you cannot purchase T shares at a discount. So I was thinking about the assumptions, right? We have to assume that people actually believe Hex is going to be there in the future. We have to assume, and with that assumption, that people are going to want T shares. So that's a pretty big assumption, right?
Sam, I want to highlight that, and I'm not going to mention it, but I want you to know that that's what I think about a lot.
Right? That's assumption. Like
You
that's
said it very specifically and beautifully, though. Like the way you said it. Can you say that whole point again? Like that you're saying for them, though, because I totally get it because I've been battling with that.
so like. I mean, we had I think one of the things that kind of like did it a little bit. Like hypothetically, guys. Yes, people believe that Richard Hart is a good actor, right, for the community, right? Cool. I believe that too. I don't have the same context, but what happens if I own everything and I'm a good actor for the community and GRC comes over here and stabs me and then takes my shit and fucks you guys?
Oh, no.
Right? That is a possibility. So
I always imagine Satoshi's son messing with his little retirement bag and dumping all his Bitcoin. Like he's like, what is this little thing my dad had?
Or just no, bro, you know how many people are just emotion? They make decisions based upon emotion, right? And people like everything happens. So you have to have the belief that Hex is going to be around, right? Because it could go to fucking like multiple zeros lower than this, right? And you have to assume that people want T-shares. Once you assume that, then another assumption for Hedron is that there's always going to be people that want to pull some liquidity off the table. And if you have increases in value, that one I'm much more confident that that's an accurate assumption. Whether Hex is going to be around in the future, I feel confident about, but not as confident as I do that if there's X's into the future, people are definitely going to want to pull some off the table. So then you think about Hedron, right? So we're into Hedron. And if you look at the way Hedron is distributed, right? One Hedron per B share per day for the length of a stake. So if you used any other length than a 5555 stake to calculate kind of like that fair value for what Hedron is, then there's arbitrage to be had. So you have to use like longer length. And then when you run the math on it, you're like, okay, if Hex has a 10x and the cost per T-share for one single T-share 15 years out into the future goes from 7,775 Hex to 10,000. The effect from Hex on Hedron has a magnitude of a difference. What does that mean? As over a 10x difference, right? So if Hedron has 100x, that means what's called, and not at this moment in time, because this moment in time is undervalued, right? We're getting closer to that fair value arb point. If Hex goes to say 40 cents, Hedron goes up 100x, because otherwise those assumptions are false that we just made. The people don't want T-shares. And if you believe people don't want T-shares, then Hex and Hedron are probably not for you, period.
I'm also the youngest guy in the room. 30 years to me, guys. If I went to jail for 30 years, I'd still have hope. Like mad hope. Like I'd be like, man, I could still like have a killer girlfriend and like make a living. Like that's a lot. I mean, that's a lot. Like
you're only 58 years old. Yeah, you still got 40 more years to go.
My dad could legitimately beat. I don't want to say it like for certain in a life or death situation, but I have a hunch that my dad could literally beat the absolute shit out of me. And he is 63. Like literally, I'm a pretty athletic guy. I can run a mile in 6 minutes. Like my dad is that. Think about the value prop difference. And I'm not highlighting it. That point might have not made sense to some, but I'm 28 years old and I don't care about money. And I try to highlight that because it's a part of the way I think. And Sam is in a different situation with different experience, but he's fucking so much smarter than me. So, he knows about those arb points. And when I say smarter, I just mean detailed about some things. Like he's just that. He just knows some shit that I won't even get to. So I tell him about all these emotional experiences I had. Like I felt like the low was in for Hedron. I was watching it the whole time. I saw all the guys kind of sell. I watched it every day. He's like, I know there's going to be people at that arb point wondering, is this going to stick? Is this going to stick? And he's right. At the end of the day, that's why people want to call Sam. What am I going to do? Tell people I got a hunch? I'm going to just buy that shit and get rich in your face and just try to be honest online until I'm a pro.
So given that, and then what you had said a minute ago, I think that there is a future where Hex goes up in value, right? In the near to short term, say 1 to 3, 4 year time frame, I think the Hex will go up in value. Whether it's around past that, time will tell, right? So assuming that Hex does go up in value during that time, the impact on, because, and let's pull this up so I can just show you guys the math, like why this works. Because this has a multiplication effect on the price of Hedron. And then we went over this, but I'm trying to, I'm like going through this with myself to try to understand how I want to choose to take profit on this, right? Because plenty of profit. Like,
Now, are you worried about the method at all? Like literally, or are you talking about best timing, best practice, best future?
how I want to structure this. And remember, because you're saying best timing, but remember, best timing for you.
For you, no, that's why I like
correct,
in
yes.
your life.
But this is more so for everybody else. Like because it's best for GRC to take 10% last night, and because I might think that it's best for me at this time, we're not
If
saying
you did what I did last night, it would have made no difference in your life.
And correct. And I
That's
wouldn't,
just the
I
truth
wouldn't
of
want
the
to.
number. That's just the numbers truth. Like, like, sorry guys, like, I don't know what to tell you. Like $3,400 for Sam right now, he makes in a day on LP. I don't, and that's not like, ow, it doesn't hurt me. Sam's my friend. I really like when he succeeds. Like, people get it so backwards, dude. I swear to God.
I love it when my friends win or you're distracted.
I want Sam to literally be the president of the whatever. Like, just go moonshot, go forever. Let's go. Like, because Sam knows that I'm willing to punch that hard, whether that means I'm going to be the president or like a good fucking guy in general. Like, who knows? But I'm willing to punch hard in a world where no one's punching anymore, Sam. There's no punchers. There's no fighters up. And it's confusing for you. You're like, why aren't people taking their profits? Don't they see these numbers? This is confusing. Should I wait longer? But the reality is, just Sam, all you got to know is at the end of the day, if you didn't take out your money at all, you're a fucking idiot. So at the end of the day, all the way next time, I'm talking like if this thing does 150x at the top and then you watch it go down back to 30, you're wrecked. But if you catch that top 75% of the pump, like you don't know when it's going to end, right? You don't know when Gunther's finally going to sell his less PLSD.
So let's get into this for a second, because I think this is why I actually still see an accumulation. For me, I'm still purchasing every single day. I plan on still continuing to purchase every single day.
And if I was doing a paid group, I would be telling people we're so early, you better be getting your hands on this asset.
And I don't want, and I even at a 10x from today's levels, which we're, if you look at this, we're still about a 10x till 0 discount on T shares. And if you think T shares like should be the same price in two markets, right? Generally speaking, they're going to be the same price if there's demand for them.
You're so
right?
smart, dude.
Right? No, it's just what's simple. It's like,
I know, but it's so simple that no one knows it. Do you know what I mean?
So, but
it's so simple, but like there's guys in this chat that literally think you're an idiot talking FUD right now, and you literally have the numbers right here for the direct asset that they literally love. At what point is this just like imaginary? Is everything just imaginary value because of people?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so that's just like I'm just coming to terms with that, like in general. Like
Yeah,
I
but
kind of
no,
like to think like the value monetary, like it's all like the crypto. It's not really that. It's just like a tool for that.
It's 100% that. So here's the thing. I see myself continuing to accumulate this, because if I believe that Hex has some future value that is greater than 4 cents, then you got many options, right? You could choose one of 50 trillion different cryptos out there, or you could choose to hold Hex and or stake that, right? Or Maxi or something like that, or you could hold Hedron. And the effect from holding Hedron is if Hex has a double, then there's more than a double in Hedron. And the reason is because of the math, like how it was distributed. Because it was distributed this way, there has, like, let me show you. And then we're going to do the reverse from a risk standpoint. Because I was trying to figure this out. I was thinking about this, trying to like.
How do you reverse it when there's a T share there? That's the hardest part. I'm like, where's the downside? Like, how does it go down?
Look at this though. So say this goes to say 8,200 over some period of time. So that means it costs 8,200 Hex to buy one T share 15 years out, right? So that means at the current price of 4.2, it's about $344 for one T share, right? Okay. Well, let's say during this time, Hex has a double to 8 cents, right? 8.4 cents, right? Look at this. This is the price for no discount. This right here. That's basically the price here. It's 3 zeros and a 1. But this is the number of X's. So Hex has a double and you have a 10x multiplier on that.
And dude, but Hex literally goes nuclear, dude. Like, and it has to by definition. Like, I'm telling you as a friend who's been in crypto a little bit longer than you, like, if anyone is worried about Hex going up and directly straight up in price when the bull market starts, you are ridiculously silly. I'm telling you, like, I think that's important to highlight because I forget about this sometimes. There's new guys that have no thoughts on this.
This is my girlfriend, everybody, who is on
Hi,
here.
Jaja 921. It's great to see you. She is nothing. First of all, it's awesome that you're like willing to like interact a little bit. Like she likes to stay a little, mostly on the sidelines, but that's awesome. She's so nice. I talk too much. I hope you don't think I'm crazy, but I hope we all have like a good time together. Maybe the future with like a vacation or like a party or something.
Yes. Well, soon, if you at some point, maybe in the next year or so, you might be, living in the area potentially. Right. So we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Okay.
If you were Alex and you were the smart, if you're as smart as anyone, but all you have to do to be smart is be detailed at one thing a lot. So like people pretend like they use smartness to be like grandiose, but the truth is I look at crypto 190 fucking hours a goddamn week and it's tiring as fuck. And I know more than everyone because of it. And that's the only reason. Like I know more about designer steroids because I did research on them for 300 days straight. But it's not because I'm a genius. But nobody wants to do it. Sam, if you were a creator of a crypto and let's say you were smart enough to manipulate most of this market, meaning that you pretty much knew it like the back of your hand, but you were a nice actor, okay? You wanted to build a product. Do you see how he could have thought about some of this stuff beforehand? Because that's where I get lost. I'm like, what is the human imaginary potential beforehand? Like, because they know how they say you write into the code, the future's in the code and some of the things, like they think about the future as they technically write the code and it extrapolates because it's like hard-coded future shit. You know what I mean? Like they can change these things, cycles, happenings in the future. How much can a human extrapolate in a financial asset that really is just a number? And it's so confusing to me because it's like, to me, Hex this is the just bones dead of it reality to me, and this could hurt someone's feelings. Richard said Hex would do a 10,000x in whatever amount of days. It exactly did that. Richard's also a genius, and he was just doing what Sam's doing and putting numbers in a calculator.
Well, plus, he probably had a lot of money in there that he could manipulate the markets.
Right, to keep it on the upside, which is fair. That's fine.
Yep, correct. You're going to use whatever resources you have. Yep.
But the truth of the matter is, Richard is not a genie. But at the time, he was punching heavyweight style. Guess who punched hard heavyweight style like a year ago? Alex from Hedron. He took his imagination and creativity and created something that's taken me 6 months and absolute dopamine reactions to uncoil and like huge pumps, and no one knows about it. I'm like, these guys are so imaginary. And I always think if Sam had 5 years in this shit, what could he think about? Like if he was in this for 5 years, if he talked to Richard and Alex and all these guys one-on-one in a room for hours on end, what could he come up with? Because you're a little bit sharper than me with the detail on that kind of thing. And I think like a lot, like a ridiculously crazy amount. And I'm thinking if Alex is anything like you, and just you, I say you because you're my co-host, but this guy's super smart and so much worse. Like, but at the same time, you're a pretty gifted guy and you're quick and you're motivated. I feel like he knows so much more than me that it absolutely scares me to death.
Alex?
Just in general, because when you build a project and you expect it to do good and you have all these feedback loops and I'm learning them, I'm like, dude, he thought about that? Like, what? Like, there's no way he thought about that. There's no way he probably was able to play this out in his mind because we're starting to be able to. I knew the Hedron chart was going to pump. Like, you can all say what you want, but I knew it.
It's and you were talking about this a long time ago off the camera. You'd mentioned it. Hey, I think it's way oversold right there. Like back probably when you started DCing into it. But with Hedron, and this is the first time saying it here publicly, but it's almost like a leverage position on Hex because of the way it's distributed.
But that's what Hex is to ETH, dude. Like it's all the same shit. And that's what Bitcoin is to ETH too. It's just a lower liquidity asset. They just shake it down to something else, dude, and they make it work and they make it proper and they make it have a use case. That's all you have to do. You literally have to
make a derivative product that's based on the value of something. However you do that, it's all imaginary anyway. Like it's a B share derivative, but a B share is just something I think about. Nobody in this world knows what a B share is, except 100,000 people. So
Correct.
it's like that's the part, guys. This is a mark. We're going to take over. That's why I believe in Richard Hart. And it's not because he's the smartest guy and he thought about all this stuff. He's willing to go to the end of time when no one else is. Sam, this is almost automatic. People understand why I'm so excited about Jack Levin. I think Jack's the first guy who's going to do a fair distribution model ever in the history of crypto. Ever once. Is that a big deal?
Talk about that. Talk about that. I'm reading through the white paper right now. Talk about it.
I want you guys to know I'm insane. I've always been insane. If you go to my second grade teacher and ask, how is this little young man? She's going to say he was insane, but a nice kid. So understand everything that I say has a chance to be psychopathic and crazy. But in general, I think there's been 4 heavy hitters in the history of crypto history. I don't think there's ever been more than that, Sam. I don't think there's anyone here yet, Sam. I don't think there's a player on the field yet. This is like the NFL, and they only have head coaches and no players. There's no one here, dude. You could literally do, and Jack realized that, I think. He was like, dude, I could literally do this myself. And I'm just saying, and I'm not talking about, oh, better crypto than Hex. I'm not talking about Hex. I'm talking about what Jack's doing. This is a free market. What the hell? Jack's coming out with a token where he doesn't own any of the token. He doesn't get any of the supply. What is the biggest problem that we have with Bitcoin? Where's Mr. Satoshi and when's he going to dump his bags? So what do you think about that, Sam? Let's start there. When it comes to Satoshi, he owns 40 whatever percent of the supply. It's counted in the market cap. It's never been moved. Most people think he's dead from some of the documentations that like verbiage and shit. Like they kind of like, that's what Richard says at least. He's like, I think he's outdated, guys. But anyway, what do you think about that? You're going to put the rest of your money for the next 10 years, if I'm telling like my family or something, into Bitcoin. And this is what everyone tells you to do, by the way. Satoshi is a magical man, and he wrote this code. Do you think that we're good to go forever, Sam? Are you good to go forever? Forever. Dude, that's like forever.
That's a good question. I mean, having a multiple million X increase on somebody's position would seem tempting to a lot of people. So I would think that potentially that it is lost, right?
But it's possible, right?
It is possible. Yes.
It's possible that he is dead. It's
I
possible he had a really great idea. He already had money, and he said, "Wow, this is something," and he died, and he only saw it go 1,000x or 100,000% or whatever. That was 4 or 5 years. So Richard's extrapolated in his head that he thinks he's dead because it doesn't make sense either to him. But there is a treasure somewhere. There is a code somewhere.
Well, treasure wasn't even around back
You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I know. Yes.
But
Yes,
there is a code somewhere. And that's what people worry about with Richard, too. People think that we're worried about Richard dumping all his coins. That's not what we're worried about. We're worried about human. I can stab Mr. Fat Man with the knife. And then I can say, I'll gut you like a pig, bitch.
Yes.
Give me your shit. I'll watch you bleed out in front of me and piss on you and laugh and run around your body. Like, I know people that are freaking crazy, dude. Like mean, like never have seen the light, if you know what I mean. So what happens then, Sam, if you run into a Richard and you're just like, jail sounds not so bad. Let's play a game. Maybe you're depressed. Maybe you're feeling like you want to be not on this earth anymore or whatever. And you just say, I'm going to play a little game called I'm going to chop this guy's head off. And with your samurai sword, this is fun, by the way. I love it. I want nothing bad to happen to Richard Hart, but you have to play this shit out in your head, guys. These are financial assets that grown men are telling you to put your money into for 15 years, but they won't tell you why. Remember that. Remember that they're all trying to scam you. Remember that they don't care about you. I'm in this for intellectual integrity and honesty. And if I will go to my deathbed on that with no dollars, I will. I don't care.
And it's not only that, but it could also be parents and family members, right? It's like having a target, right, on yourself, because we all know who fucking has the shit. Like nobody's that dense to believe that it's not fucking Richard. Like you don't have to be having a lot of functioning gray matter to understand that. And by doing
And
that,
how can you say forget about the ARB? How could you say forget about the ARB? That's literally by definition impossible in a financial asset. You can't. Oh, don't forget about a value prop in a financial asset. Doesn't matter.
it's free money if you understand what arbitrage is, bro. Like Hans.
That's
Hans
just no arbitrage is just you make money. That just means you press button and then money goes in your wallet.
Effectively, yes.
But go back to what you were saying. That was interesting. But Hans, good to see you guys in here. Sorry I have not talked to the chat at all. Please smash the like, guys. I did a stream for like 3 or 4 hours with my girlfriend last night while we watched UFC fights. And
Hans also mentioned, I don't know if it's Hans. I have a buddy named Hans, so I don't know if it's Hans or Hans or something. But Hans mentions that he believes that Hedron is overvalued versus Hex now. I'm curious to understand why you believe that. Like, where are you coming up with these numbers? If you look at like the T share, it's not. But I would be happy to be proven wrong if you have something to the contrary on that. There's also footsteps. What's good? Hedron makes Hex more versatile and better. I completely agree. I completely agree.
Hex make Ethereum better, Sam?
For sure.
So imagine, Sam, if you had a product, Sam, and you know that it was going to go up in price a lot, like you pretty much damn knew that, but you didn't know it. I mean, and then you came over to GRC's house and you called me and you were like, dude, you know, you can make a lower liquidity asset directly tied to my asset that automatically brings USD value because people buy it. Guys, I'm going to say that again.
Please.
And I love Hedron and Alex, and I think Alex is an amazing person. Truthfully, I really do. I've talked to him, and I'm not saying that because he's nice to me. I just have watched a lot of his shit. I'm going to say it one more time. So there was this thing called Bitcoin, guys. This is going to, if you're paying attention, this might hurt your feelings, or if you're new, it might shock you a little bit, but it's okay. I cut to the chase a little bit sometimes. There's this thing called Bitcoin that comes out. Everyone says mad gains. All the smart people make mad gains. All the dumb people lose all their money. And then the smart people say, we can make a lower liquidity asset that does the exact same thing, but it has one more use case, and we can sell it all day long. All right. And then what happens? They learn about these LP pools, and they learn that so little US dollar can pump up a price so much. Like I know guys that could send Hedron to fucking planet Neptune, but they don't even know what it is. You know what I'm saying? That's a big piece, though, because if they did know what it makes not the liquidity so small. The not knowing part, Sam, is the whole thing. It's like the reason Alex from Hedron and everyone, they're not around telling everyone is because it's a low liquidity asset that's going to pump your face off.
And also, so I saw a comment here because it is so low liquidity, and like where I believe it's going, we've still got about a 10x left to go. Now, what about Icosa, right? Somebody, Enigma B.
Break my brain. Please go off and tell me because I can't connect that right now, and I want you to help me.
Okay, think about this. You know how there's the T share, right? We just talked about this right here, where in order for, by the way, to just touch on this, and I want to get into the Icosa thing. Hex is 4 cents, right? So what happens if Hex drops to 2 cents, right? Hex comes down to 2 cents, right? Well, T share now is 55 cents, but Hedron still has a 5x to go. A 5x to go on this. So anyways, to get back to Icosa, let's go back to Icosa for a second. Icosa, you have the trade-off in the T shares for Hex and Hedron, right? That way there's opportunity if it goes above there to make money, so it can't go, it's not going to go above there for very long if that is the case, right? But then what about below it, right? Well, if Hedron's successful, right, then why would anybody use Icosa? I don't, not saying it's going to go to
the
zero.
yield, the sweet yield in the
Correct.
nectar. We like LP. I like single-sided LP rewards.
That's the reason. That's the reason. That's the only
extra.
Because think about this. You have 3 options within HSI. You can sell it as an NFT, right? You can take your HSI, you could sell it to Icosa, option number 2, or you can take your stake and you get to advance your Hedron on that position. And if that Hedron is greater than the Icosa value, why use Icosa to sell your HSI. You wouldn't use your Icosa, right? You'd use Icosa for what GRC just said, staking it. To earn yield, right? To earn more Hedron, right? In that case, but if nobody's using it, then the Hedron is going to go down in value. You're just going to earn more Icosa. I'm still playing around with the Icosa thing. I'm not nearly as bullish on Icosa.
That's why I want to know if and I'm no pressure graphics. But if you want to chop in for 5, 10, 20 minutes, if Sam has time, I don't know if he has time. We would love to. I know you're in the weeds on all this stuff. Guys, I stayed up all night last night. I'm not gonna lie. So if I look like ass and talk like ass and feel like ass, it's kind of because I do. But I'm really excited.
Well, we have Maxi launching team tomorrow.
I'm not the best guy to talk about that shit, dude. Like, to be honest, I don't. It's hard for me to care.
Okay, so you're basically wrapping up the feeling that I have about it, and I like the catcher and I like Goldkey. Those are good guys. I think that they are actually trying to help.
These are good financial assets if this is to get like legacy life, if you know what I mean.
But then you're like, I think it's a teeny bit overplayed, right? With like the not saying they're not going to be successful, but those are going to be like, if Hedron's low liquidity, these are going to be microscopic liquidity.
Yeah, but they have low liquidity, but they pin they make it.
They're going to be pinned, correct?
Right. So that's the difference. Like, in my opinion, if you're a smart man with a lot of money and not as much time as me and Sam, that's the thing, guys. Use case. When I say time, I mean like computer time. Me and Sam talk, and when me and Sam talk, guys, I talk to Sam knowing that he's going to study all day tomorrow. He talks to me knowing I'm going to be talking to people and studying all them passively and listening to podcasts and going about my day. So it's not like I'm telling, if the world wants this to be adopted, do I look like adoption? I've never adopted a damn thing in my life except telling everyone to F off. Literally. So the whole point is like, when it comes to adoption, I think having those assets that are a little bit more liquid but tighter. I think what Maxi and team are doing that's incredible is making a sticky asset with some liquidity that a real human could get involved in. Because what are they going to do? Stake Hex for 15 years and say, I hope Richard's a good guy? How is my mom supposed to come to the conclusion that Richard's a good guy? She doesn't know who Richard is. He talks about his pee-pee on the internet. When I say the F word, my mom cries. No, like for real. Like she would like be pissed at me. Like be like, you need to straighten up, kid. For real. And I'll just be like, I'm sorry. Whatever.
Yeah.
But so are we talking about adoption here? Are we talking about getting 300,000 people absolutely nuclear rich, Sam? I want you to tell me.
I think it's like, does the chicken or the egg come first on that one, right? Because in the process of adoption, you get 300 million people millionaires, right? Like you turn 300 million people into 300 million millionaires in the process of adoption, right? Like if you believe crypto.com annual state of the nation, that, there's 3.5% of the global population of the world that owns crypto. And let's do the math on this real quick. We have 8 billion people in the world, and 3.5% means there's about 300 million people in crypto. Well, not saying all those people are going to be millionaires, but through the process of going from 280 million people in crypto to 1.25 billion people in crypto, there's going to be so many millionaires that are made through this process, and both of those going hand in hand. I think that the Maxi Keeb thing is creating a stronger community around this, right? There's people who are Maxi, not Maxi the token, as in Maxi, as in balls deep and only balls deep on one thing, and that is Hex, right? The only thing that they do is buy Hex and stake Hex. Cool. Well, there's going to be people who just utilize
at that time in history, though.
Yeah. Well, do you still think there's some? I still think there's probably still some.
But it's just residual.
Yeah. It will. I do think it will.
It's more like a mental, like people still buy Bitcoin every day. So for 5 years, 7 years, 8 years, people will probably stake Hex. And that's a long ass time. That's a long ass time, guys. Whoa, because it has more liquidity, my fam. My dad likes buying ETH more because he's like, when I buy it, it seems like I'm actually buying the amount of thing that I'm buying. And in this world that I live in, everyone pretends like they're, when you go to a store, they pretend you're getting a good deal, even if you're not. They'll just say it's 40% off, but it's 10% overinflated and people feel good about that. That's not how it is in crypto. You know what I mean? It's like these. So I just want people to understand as we move forward and talk more about low liquidity and why it's so important in crypto. Distribution method. Richard Hart is a genius. Richard Hart got every one of us to put our money into the future for 15 years and press lock. Imagine how long this will last compared to Bitcoin. Imagine how sticky this is compared to Bitcoin. Bitcoin's 13 years running, and my dad's finally thinking about pulling the trigger. And Hex and Hedron are out, and they won't look at that shit ever. Like, they're not there yet. They're just not. They don't know how. They don't know how to read it. They don't know. They have a lot of US dollar too, but it's just like, I'm sitting here like, I hope you guys have a great time, and I think you're going to make mad gains in ETH. So, it's kind of like it's a better than nothing. So my whole thing, Sam, is like the technology in the future changes that, but I'm not under the impression for 1/2 second that Richard does not understand that more intimately than me.
Correct.
I have a feeling he understands that way more intimately than the Hexicans. And I have a feeling if he talked to a lot of the Hexicans one-on-one with the coffee, he would call them morons. Because he said, dude, like, it's going to change. Like, bro, like.
It's already changed.
Yeah.
Right.
And what if Alex and Richard are friends? Oh, what if they talk daily? What if the upside's more dumb? What if Richard does one DCA on Hedron? One, and forgets about it. Because what happens when a low liquidity asset's getting so much funds hyperbolically? You pray to God it's attached to the asset that you're holding native. And guess what? Here, there's a lot of synergy there, a redonkulous amount of synergy. And like, for example, Maddie on the first day Hedron came out, and I was brand new, by the way. So this was rather manipulative. Like, I had 10x my stakes. I was just excited. I had no idea what was going on. And he said the OA is going to make a move to make sure this goes to 0. And I posted the clip and I said, this is absolutely ignorance. Like, you're not allowed to say things about what other men are doing. That's not how you have a good situation. And guess what? We just kept buying, and I was scared to death, though. I was like, fuck this shit. This is kind of sketchy. Like, then it got oversold, and I was like, pennies on the dollar, right? It was just like nothing. It was floating on nothing. So I was like, give it a shot, give it a whirl. But what do you think about that, Sam? Like, these low.
Oh, look what we got in the house.
Dude, this is sick.
That's a dope view, man.
Dude, your view is lit, and you look so good and happy.
I am happy, yeah. In the middle of nowhere, it's quiet. There's like horses and cows and birds making noise. It's great.
I'm gonna throw one thing down, and I'm gonna let you guys run with it. Okay?
Yeah.
I don't want to talk about the specifics of the feedback loop because it's just gonna get lost in translation.
Totally.
I want to talk about how there is now a piston, low liquidity asset that we absolutely trust product market fit wise that is gaining actual liquid funds at a high rate in a bloody bear market. Mm-hmm. And it sloshes right back into Hex. People don't see that. I want to talk to you guys. It's a piston. It's energy. It's kinetic financial energy. And it's happening when nothing is occurring. Mm-hmm. So what do you guys think about that in general?
Man, I mean, it's just, for one, it's nuts that we're in a bear market and Hedron's moving the way it's moving right now. Like, that should be on top of everyone's news feed, like blowing people's minds. And two, I mean, like, for me, you know, like the thing that's been kind of funny to listen to is how a lot of people are still saying, or not a lot of people, but a handful of bigger names are still saying, like, you know, Hedron's not good for Hex, or like, just put money into Hex. Why do we need all those like expansion packs? But, you know, I mean, for me, at least, when I went into Icosa, and guess what happened with me? I went into Hedron because I saw I was going to gain, and I made a good increase on my Hex position because I went from Hedron, bigger amount of dollar value from Hedron back into Hex. Guess what? I more than doubled the amount of Hex I was able to purchase and then send 5555, which I'm pretty sure there's a number of people going to do. And that's pretty damn good for the Hex ecosystem, if you ask me. You know, being able to do something like that, which you guys were talking about, like, it's going to funnel back into Hex when that dollar figure in Hedron gets to a certain point where everyone's like, I got cash, I got dollars now. Like, wow, this is crazy. Guess what? Some of that's going to pour back into Hex, but Hex is still the asset. It's still the asset. So it's kind of where I'm at right now.
When it does pour back, it just makes Hedron preloaded, fucking light as a feather again, and it just Hex is gonna pump. Everyone's gonna act like the Lord is inside of their hearts again. Like they're gonna wake up and say, you know what, I really love my wife, and I feel really good about everything because finally their asset goes up in price. It's like, but that's what it's not about. That it's about the energy. It's just it's real energy that came out of nowhere. We had Hex and we were tied down to Bitcoin, and then this thing came out. And now all my friends are buying it. And it's shooting up to the moon, and it's directly tied. It's pretty interesting. Graphics, what do you think? And Sam, what do you guys think? It's hard for me to sit here and give my honest opinion. It actually hurts me deeply. Like I sit here and I'm like, I hope people don't hate me. I hope, because I get worried because I'm very literal with it. But I also want to make sure that I'm sane. Like, does this always happen when you make a lot of money really quick? Because I don't even know how to think straight anymore. Like, I just was like, I did not think this would occur. Like, I had no anticipation of having the next 3 months of my build paid for in 5 minutes. I had none. See,
5 minutes,
not even close. I just was having fun and doing the calculations. And now I'm like, I get 3 more fucking months to do whatever I want with no overhead. Like, I don't even know how to feel. Like, 3 months, that's like, to me, that's a lifetime of amazing opportunity. Like,
Yep. Think about how much time you can now spend researching, getting even more ahead of the game to make even more gains in the future. Like, this dude,
it makes me want to cry sometimes. Like, I feel like I almost feel emotional. I'm like, I didn't think I could actually do this. Like, I didn't even want money. I just took 10% last night because I was like, I can survive for 3 months, and I still got 90% of my back. Like, this is amazing.
Pretty sick.
And that's nothing. It was $179 of buys. Like, for real, like, literally, I think on that account that I took from, it was like $179 I spent on Hedron. And it was like, so I'm just really surprised. But Richard Hart spelled all this all out long ago to me in his streams. But it just seems like people only wanted to hear Hex, but they didn't want to hear what he had the advice.
Crypto, bro, I'm super happy for you, dude. That is incredible because I know we've been talking about things off stream, and I'm, super happy for you. Like, to give additional runway while online stuff continues to build and everything else continues to build. I'm sure that is a big, like, mental piece that has been lifted. So I'm super happy for you there. Crypto graphics, good to see you, by the way. Great to see you. Happy weekend for there's a holiday. I don't know what the name of the holiday is, but I know everybody's talking about it. So hope you enjoy your holiday. What do you think of Icosa in this? Because at some point you have Hedron value being greater than Icosa for an HSI, right? And then people who are in the know, why would you use the Icosa? Although, as I'm like saying this, I'm thinking like, okay, well, people who have shorter stakes, it would probably make sense to use Icosa. People with longer stakes, it probably makes sense to just use the advanceable Hedron. But I'd like to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, as far as like Icosa is interesting because over time, when people end stake, you're going to have two options, and options are going to have consequences. So one is if you, let's say, you have a 180-day stake, or let's say you have a 90-day stake, and you leave your stake for the November 13th through 20th, or whatever this length of time is for these massive HSI auctions to happen. If you decide to take profits, well, guess what? You're taking profits in year one when the dilution is going to be the most, the largest. If you remove yourself from the equation, you're removing your ability to get yield in future and basically put yourself in a to be a major player in that pool. You're removing yourself, or you're forcing yourself to have to put in more economic energy in order to maintain that pool in the future. So while Icosa, it seems like it has the potential to be depegged easily, I think that with the fact that I haven't even gone to Etherscan to see how many holders there are of Icosa.
I looked and it didn't come up. I tried to check yesterday.
I'll look at that while you guys are chatting.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So I mean, I think though we have probably, if I were to assume, we probably have less holders than Hedron, and Hedron's about just over 21K, or somewhere around there. I think last I saw, and so I think there's two things here to consider. One is that Icosa actually, like, how many people are going to hear about Icosa? Because when Hex starts to move again, here's something to consider. When Hex starts to move again, Icosa is going to follow that, but it's going to kind of ascend a little bit quicker, just as the natural way everything kind of works within how those two are tied. But what happens when people start seeing that on the market and they don't understand that they can buy Hex, create an HSI, sell their token, or sell that HSI to the smart contract and buy Icosa? You know, people are going to naturally buy that over time. And I think this is going to be a thing that may be a major or a minor factor, but it's something to consider. You know, people, and that's going to create an ARB opportunity, which we don't have to get into, obviously, because it's kind of complicated and all that. But I think having that as an option is going to create that ceiling to be lifted, which then creates a pull of Hex even for a moment. And those little movements are going to help the price of Icosa kind of rise. And going back to what I was originally saying about the dilution, I mean, I think that looking at what happened with Hex, imagine, like, at least from my point of view, from now till I'd say year one, you know, we have a sense of security in Icosa, you know, a sense of security in the sense of you have time to make the most amount of yield we can guarantee, because we know that about 41,000 Icosa are entering the pool per day for 365 days. After that, we have no clue if it's going to be 2 Icosa per day yield or 10,000. We don't know. This is the only year we have where we know that you can actually get ahead and make massive, substantial gains in the amount of units you have in that pool before it could potentially drop off.
I see what you're saying now.
That
was a great way to explain it, dude.
This pool, there's a 1 year time limit essentially for people to get ahead. And if you're getting out of the pool now, it makes you're shooting yourself in the foot. After that, sure, because your yield has grown to a point where now it's like maybe you're getting 4% or 5% of what you normally would get over this year. But this year, honestly, doesn't make any sense to get out of when you break down what the math is going to be. And even if you don't, like, you just know that 365 days, you have 41,000 entering the pool. After that, sure, it makes maybe sense to take your gains. Why would you
want like the 10x on the Hedrons? Like, if you were there, you were there. Great job, kid. Attaboy, you got a good deal. Great job. It's like that, guys. You could still buy a big portion. My Hedron bags are all 10x, but they're not worth anything.
Mm-hmm.
But I can still buy USD values at the bottom. I just know in the future I'm going to be cranking out so much Hedron that my head's going to explode.
Mm-hmm.
Because the value will be so different. Like, that's a long-term play. I'm like, okay, if we keep extrapolating data, like, this will be worth a penny at maybe 3 years from now, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll be earning, a couple $1,000s a day easily. So and that's what I was thinking about when I was doing that. So I was like, man, I love having Hex stakes for retirement. I love having that retirement there. But then on top of that, thank God for Alex, because he said, you know what? You did such a good job, GRC, with your retirement this year that you've been paying attention. You're student of the month. Why don't you go ahead and click on your computer and hit those 10Xs for all those stakes that were going on, because you've been a great student. You've been paying attention. Okay, great. And then everyone's like, oh, well, everyone's going to sell. Everyone's going to sell. Everyone got free coins. Everyone's going to sell. And you're like, yeah, but you can, for 70 grand, you can buy a whale position. And then you make the rules forever.
And something to add here too is, like, you know, the one thing that is crazy, because I actually just did this math for the first time. So on average, so with the amount of Hex that I started with or sold to the smart contract, or staked for 5555, sold to the smart contract and got Icosa with, on average to date, I've earned how many times is that? Almost 8 times more per day
than you would have in Hex.
Than I would have in Hex.
In yield?
In yield per day. And that's on the low side.
And that's if the Hex even existed, because really it's just burnt a unit of accounting.
Exactly. On the first
remember,
day,
guys, it's those points matter, but I'm not going to go into that. But
and this is the thing. So, like, if Icosa is tracking the price of Hex, but you're getting 6 times or 8 times more yield on average, like, this is on the low side. This is like almost 20 days in now. On day one, there was like
18%, 18%, or what was like a ridiculously high number.
It was. Hold on, I have a massive spreadsheet. Let me just.
I was such a pleb, and I thought that was forever.
I was like, I'm gonna get this.
Yeah,
But
so
then I was just excited. Like I just wasn't paying attention to that.
So on prices today, as of prices today, I made 10x in only an Icosa yield and 100 and something x the yield from Hedron in one day. So I mean, you do the math. Okay, so this is why Icosa is really important because yeah, while Hedron can do the x's, Icosa is like constantly compounding in underlying units, and so as the price moves up, you're gonna get compounded gains. It's like hex but on steroids because think about that.
Liquidity's tight,
8x, 6, 7, 8x roughly, 7, 8x in the amount of yield you're getting per day. Icosa is gonna go with hex slightly higher, or just it's gonna detach.
So talk to me about why you think that is.
Right.
Why do you? So because for me, right, to give context of that POV, right, and then please, I'd like to hear your point of view because I'm open to listening 100%. I don't see necessarily people using the smart contract if the Hedron value is high enough, right? Because then you have the trade-off between NFT sale, Icosa sale, or Hedron Advance. And the Hedron Advance gives you this, if they're all about the same, but the NFT is like 16 steps. This is actually selling it, where this is you taking a loan out on it, which means that if in the next 90 days circumstances change in your life, which you can go back and take over your thing once again. So this seems to be like the most plausible option for people who go through that. Then you're like, okay, well, if that's the case, then there could be periods of time where people are not really using the Icosa to sell their HSIs through it. So what's the value of the Icosa? And it's the yield. It is 100% the yield. But then you're like, well, how is that yield going to change if there's a much lower usage of Icosa? And this is how I'm thinking about it.
Think about this though, Sam, just to add to that, because I've been in a bloody bear market and depressed for 6 months. So you just kind of jumped in and we're so pumped up. You are pumped up, dude. Like Sam sometimes forgets that other people aren't jazzed up all the time. So like we were so excited, dude, for so long. Dude, there was like a year where I didn't even know what my name was or what was going on. I was just telling everyone to buy Hex and freaking the fuck out. Like I couldn't study, like there was no critical, there was a little critical thinking, but like, you know what I mean? I was so pumped out, bro. I was stoked 24/7 and I couldn't stop it because I'd never seen money before. I was just like, wow, I can do this and work and change my life. I was excited. But Sam, these people all expect retardo gains. So just understand that not the new guys in here, they're all like trying to make it happen and invest properly, probably a little bit more. But the guys that have seen that before, now you're at slot machine. Well, so they understand that liquidity though. So what I'm saying, if we're down for long enough, people aren't using Hex right now. I mean, yeah, they are, but would you consider this Hex usage compared to like it's null compared to where it is when it's moving upward? Like people start streaming in that all over the place. The numbers were $1,200, 1,200 new users per day, months and months and months and months ago. But now we're at 400. You know what I mean? So it is a lot smaller than that. Do you think as we get bored, Sam, because there's an aspect of boredom. So let's say a year from now, Sam, let's say we go up another 10x and then it goes back down to like a more normal rate for a little while. Let's just say that, for example. And what if the price action is not price positive for a year straight? Do you think the humans will stop using that as just a function of that because they'll get nervous? Like I get confused about how much of this is math and then how much is this like speculative.
Oh, a lot of it's speculative, but I want to hear what Graphics has to say. If like, because his thinking about this is I'm sure different than how I'm thinking about it. So I'm curious to hear your perspective on that Icosa thing, right? Like if the contract's not really getting used very frequently because the best people, I believe most people act in their own self-interest, right? And if you've got NFT, Icosa, and Hedron Advance, and they're even if they were all kind of equivalent, this has multiple different steps, meaning the NFT. This is a finality. You're done with it. And this over here allows you the optionality to purchase your T-share back if you like in terms of the advance. But I'm curious to hear what your thoughts are on that, because the demand for Icosa is going to drive the price. So why would people demand it? And then the yield. But how is the yield going to change if the Hedron price goes up in value, and then there's far fewer people selling their contracts.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be a bit of an ebb and flow kind of situation where like Hedron will be the carrot everyone's kind of chasing, in front of them, and then at times, it makes the most sense to go the Hedron route and have your advances. And I think over time, because they're especially because Icosa is so new, I think the way that you're going to see, and I'm not going to say too much here because I do like Sloth's been working on Crypto Sloth's been working on some stuff, and I really want to let him share most of this information. But Icosa is going to be the thing that people are going to utilize in the long term for relieving sell pressure from Hex, and then what people do with that over time. Like there's going to be some point where people are going to start selling Icosa, but it depends on liquidity and how much people are willing to sell. Because I mean, like if you're giving up, you're always, if you're giving up your Icosa, you're giving up your share of the pool and you're giving up future yield. And, maybe you want to take profits, and you also real quick, if this rain's too loud, let me know. And
I cannot hear a thing. It's
okay, sweet.
Birds and whispers. It's nice.
I think that, Icosa is going to maybe take a hit a little bit at some point, but I think that it's the incentive with Icosa to be in the pool and be a large player in the pool early is going to disincentivize massive amounts of what's up, Sloth? Massive amounts of selling. Why wouldn't you just?
In which way? In which way, though? What do you mean exactly? Because where is the yield coming from in Icosa, right?
Right. So the yield in Icosa is obviously coming from the HSI auctions, right? So the thing is, here's the thing we got to consider. When it makes the most sense to do auction or to advance your Hedron, things are going to happen. People are going to mess up. People are going to get liquidated. It's going to happen. They're going to forget. They're going to lose their keys. They're not going to be able to make repayments. They're going to spend their money in ways that they shouldn't have because they were making poor decisions. You list any possible scenario, people are going to mess it up. Doesn't matter. So when there's incentive to have advances, that's going to mean inadvertently some people are going to mess it up, going to send Icosa to the pool. Guaranteed, which means that Hedron's going to be burned, right? So Hedron's going to be burned, Icosa is going to be sent to the pool. That's going to happen. In small or large amount, obviously, it's impossible to know. Right, so there's always going to be, where there's incentive to mint or advance your Hedron, there's also incentive underlyingly to be in the Icosa pool as a just in case, right? Gotcha. So there's always an incentive for Icosa, even when Hedron is the most incentivized thing to utilize at the moment, just to be in the background there, waiting as a safety net to catch what people don't, how people mess up with that Hedron advancing.
Sam, do you feel that the premium's so high on Hedron for you as far as upside that it's hard for you specifically? If you had a lot of liquid funds, like within a certain pool, like let's say you were earning a Icosa yield and that came to a certain point, are you kind of feeling like maybe you're saying the value prop for you is just leaning towards dumping it for Hedron? Were you ever saying that, or was I mistaken?
I was thinking about it a number of weeks ago when it first launching about building a position in Icosa, and then I'm doing the trade-off Icosa versus Hedron, and I was like, okay, it doesn't make any sense to build a position for me in Icosa when I know that there's just so many access for Hedron to run. So that's why I've been building position in Hedron. And then when I'm thinking about it, I just wasn't sure how well like that demand would support the price of Hedron.
You ever use Pancake Swap, Sam?
I've learned about it, and
but you understand. I didn't mean. I should have just said cake. I meant the coin. So you get a single-sided coin when you use Pancake Swap called Cake.
Yep. Yes.
And on PulseX you get obviously. So, and what did Richard say once? And I was listening very closely. I watch all his streams and like review them. So sometimes I rewind and like play it a lot and really learn some of this stuff. He was mentioning, he said, somebody was like, tell me about the incentive token, Richard. And he said, you want to know about the incentive token? It's the fourth best token in my ecosystem, which would be the last. So he said that and he meant it. Guys, Richard is no dummy. He's just telling you about value, like in general. Like he's just telling you, this is a coin that you get because you're rich and you stake your shit and then you can sell it. And it's a great little use case to get liquid funds. It's not the most optimal thing in the world, though.
I think that's fair to say. And I think Icosa does a great job on having like some upside within that. But I think most people just say dumper token, right? Like it's dumper token, single-sided dumper token. Like it's not going to do anything. It's just for yield. What do you guys think about that when it comes to like the extra token that you kind of earn? In general, it's like, is it just a freebie or is it just a way to extract value in a more easy way? I don't really know.
I don't think it's just a way to extract. I mean, it's not just a dumper token in my mind. It's
you know more than me too, like way more about that. So
well, it's
don't defer to me on that at all.
No, I mean, look, here's the thing that I want to change this because I was talking about the whole idea of expansion pack and these things, and let's look at the terminology. When we say expansion pack, it's like it's building on top of something and it's related, but it's kind of doing its own thing, And I think that terminology is actually incorrect. I think we need to start using extension pack because what happens to Hedron and Icosa is what is good for Hex. It literally, in a way, it is. If you're participating in Icosa and Hedron, you're participating in Hex because it feeds back into Hex. It is an extension, not an expansion. And so
100%.
With like that's the thing that's been bothering me lately, seeing everyone like, oh, it's you're either participating in Hex or you're participating in Hedron and Icosa. And I'll get back to the original question, but I've been thinking about this as we've been talking here.
Please, this is great.
Get this out. And so, it may not look like Hex is going up because everyone's buying Hedron, but when you start to dive in, and as you guys know, when Hedron gets to a certain point, everything changes. Hex, Hedron, and Icosa become one symbiotic token essentially, but there's 3 pieces to the puzzle and they all function to push each other up, but they're all Hex. They're all extensions of Hex. Without Hex, these don't exist. Without these, Hex will not be able to go as high as quickly as it will be, as we'll see.
Yes.
That's the thing. I know it sounds crazy to be as like
there's nothing crazy about what you just said. Literally, I think if Richard was sitting here talking to you right now, he would say, dude, you're pretty smart, man. I literally think he would say that from watching all this shit, because I don't think that he thinks the way that the average investor really thinks. I think he thinks about the future a lot. I have a feeling. I'm so bullish on Hex because of Icosa and Hedron.
Yep.
I'm bullish as shit. You guys have no idea how much happier I am about my 15-year stakes now. No clue. But you guys don't think, because you already made mad, sick, bender gains. So you don't care about me. You don't really care. You just think you care. So, but the truth is of the matter, Richard knows we need more stickiness. We need more people. We need more liquidity. We need this to be more real. It can't just be about Richard. He knows that. He knows that, bro. He did not make him be able to change the code because he knows that shit. And he knows technology keeps going, and he knows great minds prevail. And he knows great products have great people on top of them. I'm more bullish on Hex than ever long term, not in price action. I want this shit to stay around. Please. I want it for 15 years. If you told me right now Hex would be around in 15 years and people would be buying it, I would just go run outside, take all my clothes off, and run in circles forever. Because none of us know that for certain. 15 years, Bitcoin has not been around for 15 years. How can we extrapolate that data? So I think this makes it more sticky, more product market fit, more human interaction, more reality, more people, more money flowing from Hedron into Hex, from Hex into ETH, from ETH into USDC. That's how these things work, and they just keep adding on. Richard was a genius, and he saw Vitalik being a genius. He was like, this dude's a genius. But now I have 7 more years of information. Let's make a time lock. Let's get people to put their money into the futures, and let's see if we can make a product that sticks around for 30 years. That's badass. And now Hedron's coming on and saying, let's make that more flexible. Let's make that have more kinetic energy. Let's make more users be able to get in. That's the reality to me as I see it, kind of.
No, I 100% agree. And real quick, I want to go back to what you're saying, Sam, because I do want to answer that question. I think one thing that I want to portray is like, one of the things we don't know is how well Icosa will hold its peg when sell pressure starts to occur. And that's a wild card. We don't know. But here's something to consider is that Hedron is like a shadow of a B share that once existed. Icosa is, and this is Crypto Kool-Aid's words. It's not mine. I'm totally gotta give him credit because this is a great analogy. And Icosa is a reflection of a T share. And so what that means is for people that own Icosa, you know, if the price gets too low, you know, you're losing, basically they're losing out on actual value that they exchange their hex for. And so there's Icosa is directly pegged to people and the price in a way of what they paid for a T-share over time. And that's going to increase over time of what the T-share rate is. So I can't imagine that like as the value drops below a certain point of parity, let's say, or that whatever that parity point is, there's a value incentive to basically you're buying cheap hex at that point is what you're buying.
In which way? How do you view that? Because if there's no like loop there to close to get the hex, how do you view that?
Right. So here's the thing. When Icosa, let's say it's a T-share for you buy a T-share, you stake at 5555, you get 250 Icosa, right? I know we've talked about like, you know, when it makes more sense to buy Icosa on the market and when it makes more sense to buy hex on the market, like forget that for a second. Just think about it like this. That's the point at where it, like if you're trying to buy more hex, think of it like this. You're trying to buy more hex, okay? If it makes more sense to buy hex through buying Icosa, because think about it like this, the value of Icosa is tied to hex, right? So if you want to get into hex, you buy Icosa on the market when it's cheaper, because that's your basically, it's a reflection of hex, right?
It's like a little extra premium if you know what you're doing, like
Exactly.
a little better deal.
Exactly. And so if Icosa is
I'm missing the link there and tying those two together. It's one directional, not
just because a pool. But are you just talking about an LP pool existing? I was just assuming you were meaning like because those two assets are somewhat in the same region, there will be LP action. Well, so therefore, but that's what I also don't know what you're saying.
Well, I'm not even talking about LP. I'm just talking about specifically price here. Like because okay, I got to nail something down real quick so I set this precedent so we're all on the same page. So when one T-share and 240 Icosa are equal in value in their individual prices, they equal when you add up all the hex and all the Icosa, they equal the exact same dollar value. Then there's a translation there at 1-to-1, right? So it doesn't make sense because they're tied together. They're like Icosa is a representation of a T-share at a time, right? And when Icosa is less than that value, right? That means that basically you have a position where it is a little bit of a gamble, a tiny bit, a tiny bit, but you have a position assuming that Icosa will hold its value over time, right? Or even roughly, you can get cheap hex because Icosa is a reflection of hex in the form of a staked T-share, right? So by getting into Icosa when that price dips, you're essentially buying cheap hex in a way.
I'm still not seeing. I'm not following the linkage there because it's only right. In order for it to be with hex, there has to be some type of feedback loop, right?
Right.
Where Hedron didn't have any feedback loop. That's why it was oversold, right? And then Hedron.
And that's why you were skeptical. To be
correct.
Honest. When I was buying it, Sam was saying, "I don't know, but I didn't know about Icosa either." So
right.
And then Icosa comes out
because I know the guys that were selling it, and he was just like, "Why is it going to go? Like, why?" Well, and then, but obviously Icosa came out, and this was all thought about before, and now you're kind of stuck on that point of where does that exact Icosa to hex relation come in? I see it more as like this is how I see it, and this cannot be right at all. But I see people buying Hedron, taking that sweet Icosa nectar, and just like slowly moving it back into Hedron. Like to be honest, like at least at this moment in time. Because to me, like I bought Icosa in the beginning and then I sold it for Hedron because I was like, I don't think there's upside on this comparatively. So I was like, but now my Hedron bag went up so up that I just slipped 10% into it, into USD or hex, depending on what it would be. It was USDC last night. So you know what I mean? Like I just like the energy that it creates. Like it creates like economic energy. Like all these young guys and all these people are buying this asset and they're getting gains for the first time in an ecosystem where everyone's telling them they're getting gains all the time. But for 500 days straight, there's been no gain. So it's like the 500 days, half the users have been in and they've gone through that 2x, right? And they've been staked primarily. So they really haven't seen all that gain. So when guys like me, who didn't really cash out anything, see these numbers, I say, I can't really slip up on this. I have stakes. I have a lot of these things.
A lot of these people have that backloaded retirement kind of way that I think about it. And it frees me up to like play with these lower liquidity assets, but I'm adding USDC to the market because of this. There is more economic energy coming out of my household into the computer because Hedron exists.
Mhm.
And it would not have until the bull market started before. I was ready to wait, you know? So I think it's, for me, I don't know enough about Icosa yet. And I'm just not the guy to tell you right away, right now, that I know exactly what's going on. But for me, it just feels like it's the extra, but there's also that supply shock that's nice on it. Like, it's like that starts at zero, right? That's what I kind of liked about it. I like that it wasn't like, here's infinite coins for this thing. It's kind of like, if you participate in this, the pool could be small enough that a big buy could really change the game on this. That's what I feel like, but I could be totally wrong. And I don't understand exactly yet in my personal head what keeps Icosa up and down like concrete, like if I had to write it down.
That piece of, there's a feedback loop for Hedron, right? Because you have the cost of a T-share in hex terms, $400. The cost of the same exact or a different time period, or it could be about the same time period, T-share in Hedron. If there's the option to buy this phone for $1,200 here and to buy it for $700 over here, people who are rational, who act their own self-interest, are going to buy it at the cheaper price, which over time is going to drive value. That's what we're seeing with Hedron now. On the Icosa side, like in the snapshot, in the moment of pressing a button to convert your HSI into Icosa, that is a representation that you could call it a reflection. But when there's no like feedback loop in the other direction for that, and maybe Alex will, maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm right, and then, you know, throughout, as people do their 30-day, their 90-day, your 270 and 360, and maybe there's more sell pressure and it's not holding up. Alex is a builder in my mind, and I would think that he would just be like, okay, cool, I'll solve this problem by doing this other thing, right? And I don't know, but I just don't see that, because if hypothetically, and going back to what I was saying, if Hedron were high enough in value, which is currently not, but if it were high enough in value where it is greater than the 240 Icosa that you would get in terms of USD, right? Because you're going to have the fluctuation of both of these things in the marketplace and the fluctuation of hex and all that shit going on, right? So if it's equivalent, then people are just going to do whatever easiest, right? They're not going to even think about anything. Mm-hmm. But when Hedron is above that value, then that means the yield is just going to be in Icosa. Mm-hmm. And earning yield is fantastic. Like, we all like this, right? I think that's one of the big things why we don't, I can't speak for graphics, but we're like, Matty Allen, that's cool. I love you bring it to the community, your attitude, like you're trying to help people. Fantastic. Like, people want yield. Why would they lock their shit up in your fucking project if they can't earn a yield, right? Like, everybody's just thinking this, and not many people are necessarily saying it out loud to everybody. But other than that yield, other than the opportunity to earn yield based on the you know, the rate at which Hedron's being burned, which could be high, but it could be like, I'm not seeing any link to drive the price up other than the demand for yield. I'm not seeing the link to Hex or Hedron in any other way. And I'd be happy to change my mind if I could see that link. I'm just not seeing it, other than like the community talks about it, right? Like, so that is, you know, some type of form of connection there. But I don't know, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, you know, I'm realizing that, like, I really need to, like, because I haven't thought as deeply as I think I need to about that whole situation, as far as, like, you know, how Icosa is going to, like, the long term. There is a value proposition, obviously, with the yield, and we don't know what kind of maintenance that's going to see as far as level of incentive for holding and staking Icosa. But I mean, yeah, I think I'm going to really deeply think about that over the next little while. I'll come back on. We'll have another conversation. I don't want to spitball here. Yeah, let me do that.
We're getting there, though. We're getting there.
Incredibly important question, and it's incredibly important to understand that for the long-term value proposition of Icosa. And maybe Sloth, or maybe Silver, or maybe some of these other guys already have that better. But for me, I think, yeah, I want to really work on that before I start blabbing away.
So please, the two things that I was thinking about this morning and last night, we've got the rate, the T-share rate, right, for Hedron.
Mhm.
So that's you're comparing Hedron and hex price, and then you have the rate at which you get how much hex it costs to get one T-share, right? And that's this equation over here. We've all fucking seen it a bunch of times. On this side, we have the amount of advanceable Icosa and the dollar value of that position relative to the advanceable Hedron in that, and the dollar value in USD, to look at those two pieces together, right? Because at one point it tips the scale so that the yield switches to just Icosa yield, not the Icosa and Hedron on yield. And I'm happy to fucking change my mind about this. Like, I'm just trying to think so that I want to make the best decisions for myself through this. So when you get to that point, let me know, and I would love to chat with you. Come on here or doing a separate one or something like that. I have to run. I've got another call. This has been freaking awesome. It's great to see you as always.
Great to see you too, Sam.
Graphics, I couldn't appreciate you more for coming on here. I really like having you on here because just like you did, you stayed open-minded and you know a lot. But that we're new. He's not under the impression that this is like that he's like Albert Einstein, and this is no. We just need to figure this stuff out and learn it and be active listeners and be active participants, non-bias. Guys, it's all about money, but the people that make money aren't worried about the money because that's just a game you play. It's a little game. And it sucks. That's the thing I don't necessarily love about crypto. Like, I hate to watch myself snipe bottoms and just chill while other people are just 100% uneducated on the subject. It's really just like an education thing for me. That's why I do this show personally, because there's young guys in there that are clueless, just like I was, flailing my arms around, asking, what is going on here? And I just wanted to be like, hey, I'm just going to tell it how I see it, I guess. But I'm going to try to be as nice as I can. I'm going to try to not talk over people. And I'm going to try to be a better host, especially when we switch over to the other channel, guys. When I come back from Vegas, we're going to be making some switches here. I've been streaming more about reaction videos on crypto stuff that I like on my channel. And we're going to switch Crypto in the Morning to the team channel where we can kind of like, it's pretty much for my structure's sake and the sake of all these men keeping their brains like, we got to be structured for them too. I'm not perfect, but I want to be productive and I want to be as valuable as I can. And I think having a team for everyone in their lives in general, whether that's your best friends or like a good, honest business partner, is extremely, extremely, extremely valuable and important. And Sam and Bullish have done nothing but help me light years. And all I have to do is listen. It's just about me listening and working. At the end of the day, the people in my life have good intentions for me, I think, in general. And I'm so excited to continue down this journey with you guys and just continue to learn. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it's going to be fun, dude. And these have been sick games. And I hope everyone has an amazing day in here. Graphics, I hope you have a great day as well. Sam?
Peace out, guys.
I'm going to Vegas tonight, guys. I'm going to Vegas tonight. I am not a traveler guy. I am not most. So please, if you see me, please I'm a little anxious about, I'm not going to lie to y'all. Like, I'm not trying to play. Like, I get anxious about traveling, not because of the flying, but I'm a bit of a gym rat, stay in my room kind of guy. So be easy on me. I'm not going to be drinking a whole lot or anything like this. I just want everyone to have a great time and be safe. Safety is very important to me. Please, everyone, protect yourselves and be very cognizant while you're down in Vegas and make sure that you don't do anything that you wouldn't do. There's people down there. I don't know everyone's intentions. I want everyone to be safe and feel comfortable. So everyone have a great day. Crypto in the Morning every single day. I'm going to play the golf promo so everyone knows about it before we go. And then I'm going to round it out with some DeFi proof, guys. I hope everyone has an amazing day. I did a show on Zen with Jack Levin. I really enjoyed the show. And Graphics, if you can still hear me, I don't know if you've looked into Zen yet, but I'm telling you, dude, the distribution method is so cool, bro. It's so chill. He's really trying to see if he can do a distribution method that would be marketable to like the average person rather than like sometimes it's front loaded. But I really like Zen and Jack Levin. I'm really excited to learn about that project. He said it'll be launching in about a month, guys. Check that video out. I hope everyone has a great day. Remember, Do not FOMO your bags. Please calculate yourself, understand that there's risk involved in all of this stuff, and slowly make your moves and talk to your friends and move into these assets. Don't make a big move that's going to change your entire life in one day. That is not how this works. Be very smart and calculated, because the guys that are buying these assets are generally very smart and calculated. Everyone have a great day. Crypto in the morning every single day, guys. Golf promo and then DeFi proof. KSB.TV presents the Pulse Masters Golf Tournament. We have 2 shotgun times, 7:30 a.m. and 1:30 p.m. Registration is 1 hour prior. The Concord course offers a 7,034-yard par 72 layout with Bermuda fairways and large greens. The spectator pass is $55. The individual golfer is $195. In the golf foursome, $750. Play Golf Network with others and win crypto prizes. September 5th, 2022. Contact us at ksbtv/golf.
You already know what time it is. Crypto in the morning. Crypto in the morning. Crypto in the morning. Waiting on phone. Crypto in the morning. 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 Waiting on phone. Crypto in the morning. Crypto in the morning. Smoking a blunt on my way to the gym. 11 a.m. and I'm already tuned in. Got me some hacks and I'm making a stay. Got me some Hedron, I'm making it rain. Pay me some Maxi and that's just in case. Gym ready set me to show you the way.